Hey y'all, welcome to Stitch of the Month. For January, the stitch is the single crochet, and we are going to be making this square. So stick with me and we'll get started. Hey y'all, it's JJ with Baby Girl Craftin', and today we are doing the single crochet for the 2019 Stitch of the Month club that Darn Good Yarn was sponsoring, and we're gonna do our little version of it. So what you're gonna need for this is you're gonna need some yarn. I am actually going to be using, hold on a sec. I am actually going to be using this Caron Pantone in these colors. Does it say my colorway on here? It does. Well, it's the Wistfully Nostalgic Cumant. Oh my word. You figure that one out. Can you see that? There we go. We have purples and taupe grays, a green and a pink in this order. And each month I'll use a different color. So if you really are starting off with learning to crochet, do not use this yarn. It splits like crazy. It is super soft, but it splits like crazy. So I strongly suggest using just a worsted weight, simple, yarn to start with to practice. Something that's not very expensive so that if you mess it up, you can not feel guilty throwing it away. I did have a little bit of a struggle with this. With that Pantone, I've never used it before, and I'm not sure I'll ever use it again. I really like the way it works up-ish. It's soft and it's nice and pretty, but it's so easy to make mistakes. Like just to split, just letting it sit on my hook, and it would split. Let me show you. Let's see if you can see it. See right there? I've got stuff like that all over and I tried to catch them all and go back and fix them. But there's still a couple that I missed. It just was happening so much. So I will probably never use this yarn again, although this is a good experience to use it. The other thing you're going to need is a crochet hook. I am using a 5.5 millimeter. I will be using a 5.5 millimeter for all my squares through the entire series, as well as the same yarn, just because I decided to do a little bit of consistency. Let's see. Oh, and some scissors. I call them snips, just so you can cut the ends and separate your yarn. I've already done it, but I did record it. So let's go take a look at the tutorial. All right, so we'll be using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and we're going to start with the pink. It's a habit of mine to leave the knot on. I don't know why. There's no real reason for it. But we're going to start with a slip knot. And to start today, we are going to chain, I'm trying to decide, I think 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Let's see, that's about 6 inches. So we'll go with 20. Alright, so today's stitch is the single crochet stitch. And what you're going to do is you're going to chain one more so that we have the rise. So now we have 21. And then not that, let's see, this stitch right here where we have the loop coming out of, we are not going to use that stitch. We're going to go into the first full stitch. We're going to stick our hook through. Oops. We're going to certainly try to stick our hook through, and then we're going to yarn over with this yarn So pull it through. And now we have 2 loops on the hook. Then we're going to yarn over and draw through both of those loops. Alright, so now we're going to do that again. Go to the next stitch, or next chain stitch, put our hook through, yarn over and pull through. We have 2 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both loops. And this is a new yarn for me to use, and oh my word, it's like very bulky. So I'm glad I'm using a 5.5. But hopefully it's making it easier for you guys to see. So yarn over, pull through both loops, and then pull through both loops. So the single crochet is a good basic stitch to know. I'm not a big fan of it in the sense that if I do a whole project in single crochet, I think it's boring. But it's a very good connector and filler stitch, so it's definitely a stitch you need to have in your arsenal of stitches that you know. It's also the most basic. So what we're going to do is yarn over and pull through all of these stitches. Yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, pull through 2 through each of the chain stitches. So you can see that's what I'm doing. I'll show it to you again a little bit closer. It's easier for me to do it once I've got a row. I think working in the chain stitches for me, because I still consider myself a novice in crochet, although I picked it up pretty quickly, but working the chain stitch is still very difficult for me. It's much easier once I've got that first row done to go add a little bit of speed to my stitching and a little bit more consistency. You can check if you're wondering about, hold on just a sec, I'm trying to do it consistently. If you're wondering about tension, I'm going to be doing a video on tension, and I will be doing another video on, yeah, we're going to leave that out there. I'll also be doing a video on different ways to work in the chain stitch, because I've got a few different ideas on how I do it. Currently, I'm doing it where I'm going through 2 loops, which only leaves 1 loop at the bottom. So it's a different, if you go through it different ways, it does different looks on there. So it kind of depends on how you're going to finish off the project, depending on how you want to do it. You can see I'm going very slow. Just to make sure I get it in that chain stitch consistently across so that it'll look the same when it's done. That's not, I mean, to some people it's not important, so if it's not important to you, then ultimately the idea here is you just want to practice. That's what the Stitch of the Month Club is all about, is learning a new stitch. So the best thing you can do is just do. You can always take it apart, or you can always just kind of chalk it up to practice. I do both. Alright, so I'm on the last loop and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go through the chain stitch, yarn over, pull through. So now we have 2 loops on the hook, and pull over and pull through. Alright, I'm going to move this a little bit closer so you can see this next row. So what we're going to do now is chain 1, just to give us some height to go to the next row, and then turn our work, which just means we turn it so that the bulk of the work is on this side. And we want to make sure that it's straight. Alright. Then we are going to go through that. Okay, so here we go. So we have that hole right there. We're going to go through there, yarn over, pull through. We have 2 hoops on the 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through 2. once more. We have the next little loop. You can see why it's easier once you've got that first row done. You can see where your needle needs to go, or your hook needs to go. Yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and start doing that. The idea for this project is that we're going to be making a square. I think this is going to look really pretty when it's done. So we're getting about to the end of row 2. And again, you see it's kind of the same thing. Put through the hole, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through 2. So I'm putting hole, but it's the hole that's in the stitch. So you put your, and you can see, let's see, I'm gonna go back out. One other thing. I call it a V. There's like this little V at the top. That's what you're sticking your needle or your hook under. And then you're going to pull through and then pull through 2. And this creates the V for the next row. Oops. This creates the V for the next row. I do not know if it has a technical name, but that's what we're doing. And then I'm going to go through here. Sometimes that last one is a little bit tricky when you first get going. Make sure you get both parts of that V and pull through. Okay, so now you want to count your stitches just to make sure you still have 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I have 20. And every row you should probably count your stitches, especially when they're this, you have this few, just to make sure that you're doing it right. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And we're going to start on row 3. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to keep stitching on camera and you guys can see how it works out. But I will fast forward through here. Alright, so I'm coming to the end of row 4 and I'm just going to put my needle or my hook through the stitch, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, and then I'm going to chain 1 so that I get the rise to go to the next row, and then turn my work. So you can see where I'm at. There's a little bit of a bobble right there, but we'll hide that when we put on the outside border. This yarn I'm finding really likes to curl, but it seems to be not curling as much as I get into it. So what I'm going to do, and what you need to do, is go ahead and stitch quite a few rows. I'm not sure how many at this point because I haven't done this yet. And when it gets towards the end, I will come back and tell you how many rows I've done and how I determine to make it a square. So hang on and I'll be right back. So I'm almost done with my square, but I think it needs one more row. But I'm almost out of yarn, so I'm not sure how we're going to do this yet. But I wanted to show you the best way to find out exactly the size is to make sure that they're equal is to take a tape measure and measure this side and then to measure this side. But I don't have my tape measure with me, so the way that I often do it is I just pull this down into a triangle, make sure that this corner here is square and it goes along the edge here, so this is even, and then just kind of pull it over, and you can see for me that I have this one more row extra. So I really want to put an extra row here, but again, I'm almost out of yarn. So we're going to see if this works. If not, I might undo it. And if not, then I might undo it and redo this and make it so that it's only like 18 stitches, so I can have that even row square. So I chained 1, and one little quick thing when you're chaining 1, that does not count as a stitch. That's just a way of getting your yarn so that it can get out to the next row. So we go through, yarn over, pull through 2, through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Like I said, I'm just seeing if I can get another row on here. I have very little yarn left. One thing with these Pantene rolls is they give you 5 different colors, but each color only has a limited amount. I do have an extra package, but I want to use that for a border at the end of all this if I can. But once I designate the size of my squares, I'm going to need to do that size square for every patch I do in order for the quilt or the blanket to fit together at the end. Oh, it looks like I might be able to do it. Oh, yay! Yay, yay, yay. I love it when something all comes together. Oops. Oh. At the beginning of this video, I explained to you about how I'm not a big fan of this Pantene yarn. Is that what it's called? Pantone. I think it's Pantone. Yeah, the Karen Pantone. But it's very soft and it's very pretty, but it is a pain to work with. Alright. So there we go. There is the single crochet square for the thing. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take, since I don't have very much yarn left, I'm just going to pull it through. If you have a lot of yarn or you're on a skein, what you're going to need to do is just take some scissors and clip it. You want a little bit of a tail. Ooh, this is a very long tail. Just kind of tighten it up. And then what you'll do is you'll take the end and you'll weave it through. And I'll be doing that with this end too. And since I am done now, I'm going to snip off the little knot. Alright, and I don't need as big of a tail. So you just kind of, you want a good maybe 6 inches or so. And snip it. So there we go. That is your single crochet square of the month. Yay! Alright, let's move on to February and get our February stitch done. February's stitch is the double crochet. So my next video will be double crochet. Until next time, later peeps.